Welcome, everyone, to Forged in Silence podcast, where we are addressing issues men face but rarely talk about. Today, we have a really awesome guest, a man that we met on Instagram very, very early, right as soon as we created the account. Dr. Stephen Poulter was his account was like front and center, and
Wow.
uh, it was
Yeah,
that's
thank
how
you.
the
That's good to
the
hear.
the algorithm fed you to us.
Well, I'm grateful. Yeah.
So
All right.
now you're
Let's.
here.
I'm here with you guys. It's an
Look how
honor to
well
be
the
here.
look how well the algorithm actually works.
It's
Uh,
amazing.
anyways, we met Steven. Steven's good, right?
Yeah, Steven or Steve, either way.
Awesome,
It's good.
awesome. We met Steve. Two Steves. Good name. It's a good name. It's an awesome name. We met Steve on Instagram, and it's been a pleasure talking to you on the phone and
Yeah.
getting copies of your books. That's always it's cool. It's a first time experience for me. So I'm gonna say thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. And my pleasure. Genuinely. Robbie and
hmm
Steve. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So before we dive in and ask how you're doing and everything like that, I want to give a giant shout out to the town and the city of Grand Junction. This week, uh, I wrote a Facebook post on the Western Slope Classifieds asking for your support to help me get to help this podcast get 100 subscribers, and we were at 67 subscribers when I wrote that post. And to meet my goal for the end of this semester, my goal was 100. And the support that you all have given this podcast and what we're about and what we're trying to achieve here with men's mental health and talking about these issues that men face, you have blown me away. This city has blown me away with the direct messages from some men and the support I've got from some local businesses, and I'm going to take this opportunity to actually give them all a shout out because they deserve it. Uh, CrossFit Junction, they've been with me since the very beginning of this. I'm a member there, and they have supported this journey 100%, and it's been phenomenal. Rendezvous Salon, I had an amazing conversation with her. The Dynamite Gal food truck, Ryan, the gentleman who runs that, sat with me this morning when I was sitting out downtown out front of the coffee shop with my sign, and these all of these businesses are on my sign, and it's was my way of trying to give back to these businesses for being so welcoming and supporting. Cat's Automotive, Alex there, he was fantastic. Had a great conversation with him. Ash and Honey Salon, Keely was awesome. Also, the laundry room and her husband's business, LTJ Industrial Services in Rifle. MLM Construction. That's Mike Lara. He's my landlord, and he's in full support of this. And he's going to start. Actually, I believe he's going to be a guest. And I think he sent me a text message last night saying he was going to help make a video ad for the podcast, which is a surprise to Robbie because I haven't told him yet. So uh,
Awesome.
that's in the works. Carrie Kanakis at Shelter Insurance. I walked into her office as a recommendation from Alex from Cats, and I walked into the wrong Shelter Insurance and spoke to the wrong Carrie, and she was the right Carrie. Incredible conversation I had with her. And so I want to say thank you for your support. So Carrie Kanakis, Shelter Insurance in Grand Junction, and we went from 67 subscribers to 118 subscribers in like 3 days,
Congratulations.
and and
100%.
and it is because of I have to last shout out to my entrepreneurship professor Georgianne Juflis because she has asked for multiple flyers hand out, and she's been also spreading the word. So I can't say enough about the support I've got from this town. So I like from the bottom of my heart, guys, I mean this. I appreciate you guys more than I have words for. So thank you.
Fantastic, Steve. That's great. I love hearing it.
It means a lot to me. It means I don't know.
There's no doubt how grateful you are. No doubt.
The outreach has been really, really cool. The men that have reached out, the women that have reached out, the loudest supporters right now are women, which is something that I was not expecting. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear from you guys. Send me a DM, send Robbie a DM. I get it. It's not easy. It's not. I've been there. I've been in the spot, and Robbie's been in the spot where it's just not easy, and I don't have the words for it, and it just sucks, and it's allowed to. And the hardest part is to just let it suck for a little bit until you're like, hey man, can you help me out of this, or how can you help me get out of this? You know what I mean? So I'm gonna shut up because I've done a lot of talking, but it's been a really emotional past 3 days. It's to be honest with you, and I said I was gonna shut up, and now I'm not shutting up. To be honest,
Steve.
with you guys, the feeling that comes to mind outside of gratitude is one that tries to take away the good things, is the feeling of I don't deserve this. That's what comes up. That's what comes up. That's what I fight, whether it's imposter syndrome or whatever that may be.
It's all of it.
It's an old message. It's an old belief that I need to let go of, and that's what this brings up for me. And I actually had a really good cry this morning.
Good.
Because the community has helped me remember where the fire is.
Yeah.
So,
and see what you did is the key to all men. You didn't isolate.
no,
Let me tell you, if someone asks, if
done that before. Doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Ends up nowhere. But I'm telling you, that's one of the keys, because the opposite of isolation is connection.
Mm-hmm.
People go, "What's the opposite of sobriety?" Connection. Not being sober.
No.
Connection.
Oh no. Connection is.
You guys know that. And Steve, I hear you from the bottom of my heart. That's fantastic, because that belief that we're not enough or we don't deserve it, that is the word of the week here, shame.
That is why we are here. We've invited Steve to come here and talk about shame.
Yeah.
And before we get too far, he actually wrote a book on shame. It's called The Shame Factor. He showed you guys. I haven't read it yet. I haven't got into it yet. It just showed up my door last week, and I'm still getting into his book, Modern Masculinity. That's the one that's got my interest cued. But anyways, Robbie, how are you?
I am. I'm grateful to be here with you two. I had a great run this morning. I'm nice and relaxed and ready to talk about shame.
Excellent.
We all need. I haven't told a lot of my story here on this podcast. Shame is something that I'm going to deal with until the day I die. I'm okay with that. Connection is going to make it a lot easier, not isolating like you were saying, Steve, there. And shame is a topic that is really hard to talk about. And being a man and talking about our shame is something that society doesn't want us to talk about.
Robbie, we're given permission for two emotions, anger or passivity. Okay, now we've left 80% of our life on the, on the table, because in between those two is vulnerability, and shame can't exist with vulnerability. It's incompatible. It's oil and water. You can shake it up, but the minute you stop shaking, they separate. And shame cannot withstand vulnerability, because we'll get
It
into it,
di-
but you
it
can't
dies
withstand
in
it.
the light.
It dies in light.
That's
Shame, I said it all through the book, shame thrives in secret in our
it's the,
closet.
that is in
I
the
like that.
dark, man. It is in the
It's the
dark.
dark, man. Everyone's got a closet. Myself, you guys, we all know this. But when the old adage, there's a monster in the closet, kids freaked out, dad opens the garage. Turns out, turns on light, it's a yellow rubber made raincoat. But the child is convinced it's a monster.
Hmm.
That's us. When you expose it, you're like, what was
Yeah.
that all about?
Yeah,
You
I
know?
can't I can't tell you how many times I said something that I was ashamed of.
Yep.
And once again, this comes down to it being with the right people. Uh because you can when you do talk about your shame, it comes from a place of humility.
Yes.
And if you put it in the wrong place, you end up with humiliation.
Steve,
That's
that's what
how
I'm,
that's
yeah,
how we
that's an
feel about
understand.
it.
Because that's what you just said is how what boys by age 5 know at their home. Is it safe to express emotion or is it not? Age 5. That's why I always like 5's a big deal. Age 5, you can either talk about your feelings or you don't. And it's an on or off switch. It's not gray. And so many of us, 92% of us know we can't. So that's when we the stuff start putting it, stuffing it in. And that part of our development many times stops. And shame is this, people ask, what does shame mean? It's not guilt. Guilt's something we did. Shame is
Yep.
something you feel and you
Yeah.
believe. You're
Guilt
like,
is what I did bad, and shame is I am bad.
bad. Very well said. So, John Bradshaw kind of broke the ice with us 30 years, 40 years ago. Shame is like in marble, the veins in marble. Guilt
Okay.
is the chips on it, like you
Ah,
drop.
okay.
Okay. But shame is intrinsic. And you guys, I've never met a guy who's really hitting it on all areas of his life who hasn't looked shame square in the face and go, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I might have been molested. I might have had something happen in my background, and I'm looking straight at it. And when you do that, it evaporates.
Yeah,
That's
and
what.
we had
That's the key.
a guest on not too long ago
Hmm.
who talked about being molested and it taking him a really long time to find the words
Yeah.
to relieve himself of that. And it wasn't until he started talking about it there where
Yeah.
he could finally find a relief. And once
You know.
again, it sometimes it's in a therapy setting. Sometimes it's talking with a buddy you trust or something along those lines. But anyways, tell us a little bit about yourself, Stephen, and we will then get into
The
these
shame.
5 emotional elements of shame, which
Yes.
I'm fascinated to hear and talk about.
So, guys, I've been a licensed clinical psychologist for a long time, like 30 years. So I got licensed when I was 12. Uh, not really. Quite the opposite. And in my prior life, I was a policeman for 8 years. And what I learned being a policeman in my 20s has served me well in this profession. A lot of,
I bet.
yeah, I mean, from A to Z. And one thing I learned, unresolved shame is one of the bonds in all gangs. Absent
Say it.
father, what I learned as a policeman, as a rookie,
Yep.
two things are always present to me in gangs: fatherless sons
Mm-hmm.
and shame. Dad's in prison. Dad got
Mm.
murdered. I never met dad. My mom got killed by my dad. it was usually one of those four.
Huh.
And the shame that surrounded that, it could only be offset by violence.
Anger.
Anger. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's when I was, that's when this book started. I started writing it 30 years ago. Like, I thought, wait a minute, no one's talking about it. It's not depression. It's not anxiety. It's not ambivalence. It's something else. Because like we said, shame is that feeling that you're defective. And as boys, the first man we ever loved was our dad. And if our dad went to prison or parents got divorced and mom hated him, I hate half myself. As a single parent, many times parent alienation kills the kid, not the other parent.
Right. Yeah. It always
Guys,
does that.
I know I'm talking the choir, but I just had to put it out there.
Oh no! I mean, you got to say it.
Got to say it, man. And this isn't. Listen, guys are as guilty as women. Scores 1-1. No, we're not taking sides here.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I can tell you, that's what got me doing this. And I was a policeman. Then I also went to seminary. I really wanted to kind of go through that route. Did them both. I know it was very contradictory, but very similar. Yeah, I know.
How long did you do that for?
I did that for seminary. Went through. I worked at a church for 2 years, and I realized it was not a fit. It was just the suit did not fit metaphorically. Because I wouldn't be talking to guys like us, or you guys, or other people, and I thought telling people to read the Bible is great, but there's other issues that have to be dealt with, and I saw that wasn't being so. That's what got me to go on and get my PhD in psychology. And ultimately, the police department paid for my education, and then I worked for United Way for 4 years to pay it back.
Wow.
And here we are today.
Here we are today.
So when I hear about police, men, stuff, guys, it's the numerators are different, but the denominator, if a guy deals with his shame, he's not killing people. He's not beating his kids. The list goes on. But the bottom line is, I always say, shame is underrated, as is radiation. Half-life's 15 years. Usually shows up 15 years after a trauma.
You're not wrong there.
Yep.
I'm just thinking of my own timeline here. I'm like, wait a second.
You guys, I can say, when I heard that in graduate school, I go,
Like mine's like right to the T.
Yeah. That's why I said 30 years, because I've had 2 of them, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just stacking them.
Yeah, just stacking them up, man. I can tell you guys, the other thing, one of the things about myself is being a police officer and going to seminary, I never felt like I fit in. And that fed right into being different, because we're all different. And the hardest job I had was working with my co-workers, not the public, because they were a hard group. Because it was a tough group. I respect them, think the world of them, and I was glad I had the education and got to leave. Chose to leave. And we're all on a spiritual path, life path, call it whatever you want. Our that self-discovery. I always say, someone says, I don't believe in God. I go, what has you wanting to improve? It's not your ego. Your ego doesn't want you to improve.
Nope.
Just want to run that one by you, okay? You guys go with me on that one, right? C.S. Lewis said that. What is that thing decided that wants you to work the 12 steps? Make amends. Forgive people. It's not your ego. That's your soul. And your soul is, we know that, something bigger than us. And shame aborts that connection. A lot of people call it sin. In the East, they call it delusion. I call it hell. A shame cycle is brutal.
Yeah, and I've heard it as, I've heard it related to or called the vortex of shit.
All the above. None of it's good.
No, like you can give it, that you can put as much lipstick on that pig as you want. And...
Still a pig.
Yeah.
I can tell you another thing, guys. Steve, what you and Robbie are doing, you're reaching an audience that doesn't know how thirsty they are. most men, myself included, did not know how thirsty we are for that connection. Like we spoke on the phone, Steve,
Yeah.
great connection.
Hmm.
That is the brotherhood.
It's you know, and Robbie and I have talked about this probably multiple times now here on the podcast, but I mean, find maybe we should just make that a freaking episode. Trying to find other dudes to connect with, because I think that's
Amen.
hard. I think that in and of itself, there's shame
I was gonna say there's
involved
a lot of shame in that.
right there. Go for it. Share your thoughts
Yeah,
there,
Rob.
Robbie.
Uh, So I'm. It took a lot of work to get to where we all are today, and there was a lot of shame involved. And like I said before, there's still shame,
Mm-hmm.
but we get the shame from the other side is like, oh, you need to go have your bro time. From women, from coworkers, whatever it is, right? Your children sometimes, you need
Yep.
to go have your boy time, and that's where the magic happens. Like all three of us wouldn't be here today without finding connection, guaranteed.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
why do? And I was. This is going to lead to another question I have after this, but it's like, why does someone else have to make us feel or put shame on us to find a connection?
Excellent question, Robbie. Number one, I tell guys 70% of all marriages end because of a lack of vulnerability. 30% end because of all the weird stuff we know. But that 70% is because we're not connecting emotionally. We're not being vulnerable with our partners. So I have a group named after Ted Lasso's group, the Diamond Dogs. We meet every other week, and we're 6 or 7 of us, and we sit down and talk. We talk, and you have to see masculinity through the eyes of a man, not the eyes of a woman, and that's very empowering. And another thing, I tell guys, no one can put anything on us, make us feel anything unless we agree to it. And shame tells us to agree to it. It's not bro time. It's connection time. I always take offense when people say, "Oh, you're gonna do your bro time." No, this is anything but bro time. This is like talking about real stuff, how we feel, our relationships, uh, struggles, our
Yet,
kids.
yet the shit hurts.
Hurts. It does. And if we don't talk about it, it's cancer.
If you don't talk about it, it sits in your emotional backpack, and you carry the motherfucker around with you
Mm-hmm.
until you figure out how to bury it some more, which still stays in the backpack. Is
Not going
just
anywhere.
you're just hidden, or we find a place to alleviate it. That emotional cancer you're talking about. That it's like the 15 years is I'm just reading this because I wrote some notes. The shame is the emotional cancer of your heart and soul. It chips away at you.
Yep.
It's not an immediate thing. The 15 years, it chips away at the little bits of your being, and you change, and I changed. This is what I changed: the way I acted around people, masked, you name it, so I didn't have to experience that feeling.
Amen. And Steve and Robbie, that we call it our false self in psychology. There's your public self, and then there's your real self. Your public self many times is a false. It's just an image we're portraying.
Yeah, projection.
Yeah, projection. And your authentic self wants connection.
So, I mean, that is why I think that is like the root of why I felt so lonely.
Lack of connection.
Uh, the lack of connection to my authentic self.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's the lack of connection outside, but I think what we miss is, if I lack connection outside, where am I abandoning myself on the inside?
Because it starts on the inside.
That's
It
the
all
whole
starts. Point.
yeah.
What you just said, Steve, is spot on. Uh, Our biggest relationship, our most important relationship, is one with ourselves. And if we're not doing that, staying connected to a higher self, our best self, whatever term you want to use, I tend to say my higher self, that's my best self. Or you say, what would Gandhi do? Well, that's my best self. Like, what would Gandhi do? Or Bill Wilson. Like, what would, these men do? And that's our best self. And if I stay connected to him, I'm aligned. So when we get disconnected and fragment, and the more fragmented we are, it leads to mental illness. That's what mental illness is based on: fragmentation. There's 30 pieces of you, and you can't put them together. And that's the heart of mental illness. And many times it's because of trauma, since it happened in our childhood before age 10. And guys, the men's groups, it's like AA is wonderful because it's groups work. But intimate groups, less than 8 or more, is where men can really let their hair down.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna dive in here. Robbie, I don't know if you have any thoughts right now, or do you want me to share mine?
Go for it.
This podcast, even though Robbie and I come from both an addiction background, and so do you, I believe. So
Yes.
this podcast, even though we have an addiction background, isn't it's not a place we want to focus, because there are a whole bunch of men out there who need a space to speak. And if you come from the addiction world, there are books and meetings and places and things that we can go and investigate, that are places meant for people that have shame to congregate in, because it's gotten that bad for them. Right? What Robbie and here, why we want to talk about this is because we believe it doesn't have to get that bad.
Oh,
And
yeah, absolutely. And by the way, Steve, your point,
yeah,
the biggest addiction is the avoidance of the present. That is an underrated addiction.
agreed.
And that's why I say meetings are wonderful, but I'm not doing meetings. I'm not talking about meetings. We're talking about being present.
Yeah.
You're present. You got to sit with the old saying, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's why with the Brotherhood, it really helps. And we start realizing what makes me uncomfortable. I don't want guys to think I'm a loser. Okay, what makes you think you're a loser? Well, next thing you realize, something happened in my past, or maybe I was molested, or this happened to my sister, and I never said anything about it, or something happened. Now you pull out by the roots. We're not cutting grass, we're pulling out weeds out by the roots. And that's the freedom. And that allows men to do what we're doing. You don't need a PhD to do it. I had to go get one because I was trying to understand it. And I tell guys, the more you're in the present, it breeds insight. And insight breeds understanding. And understanding also self-acceptance, which is humility. Someone tells me, how long do I need to sit with the discomfort? Till you're humble.
As long as it takes to face it.
And that's humility. That's humility.
That's the answer to that. It sucks.
It does. But let me tell you, but what's the end goal? Someone asks, how do you know? I go, well, first of all, asking that question means you don't. It means you still need to do it. But with that, sitting with it, there's a humility and empathy. Like, you guys know how much it sucks. You have empathy for other guys going through it, not disdain or judgment. That's humility. And connection versus isolation. That is a game changer. Because if you get disconnected from yourself, then it shows up outside. And the other one is approach behavior. I tell guys, what's one thing a day that you don't want to do? Probably one of the things you should do every day. Whether it be to meditate, talk, do something. Avoidance breeds shame. Approach behavior does not. It reduces it.
I think okay, so let's back up the bus here. Uh, if I'm avoiding something, let's simplify it for a second. If I'm avoiding something,
Hmm.
Doing your laundry.
We're not opening a bill.
fuck off, Robbie. Fuck off. He's
You
bringing
called,
that up because I know now you're bringing it up. Anyways, if I'm
but
avoiding
well,
something,
Steve called
here's
me up by not
something.
opening a bill.
I know, and now he just called me up. Not no, it wasn't a bill. It was your mail. Now it's my turn. Um, before the podcast, before even Steven came on, I had a pile of laundry on my floor back here. It did not look like this. But I had to make sure before the recording that the pile wasn't there because I didn't want y'all to see it. Uh, so the there it is. I mean, it's simple. Um, but I didn't want my place to look like it was in shambles.
Hmm.
So before we got on here, so because I would have been ashamed of that, I really would have. And it's a small thing, but going back to the
Yeah.
question here for a second, if I'm avoiding something,
Yes.
am I ashamed of it?
I don't want to oversimplify it, but
No, it's
no.
yeah,
There's something. There's a reason why we're avoiding something.
yeah, there is. I'm just
And deep down, I know when you boil it down, there's a narrative. Maybe I don't think that highly of myself. I don't take care of myself. So then it shows up in different ways. The way I
mhm.
take my dental care, okay? You know, the way I take care of my health, the way I eat, the way I sleep, the way I take care of personal property, all of that comes back down to I'm not good enough. It's hard to like myself. And it shows up in these different ways.
So the I'm not good enough, the I don't deserve it. I'm gonna venture a guess that a lot of men feel this way. This is
Probably top
probably
two.
I was gonna say if not the most common where shame shows up in a different
Hmm.
with different language
Yep.
is that feeling of not good enough. What do you think, Robbie?
I know I do this myself quite a bit, and just listening to this talk, I had some thoughts come up of my current situation, leaving my career in Denver, moving out here to be with my daughter. Uh, Sometimes I will feel ashamed of leaving that career,
Hmm.
but then it's like, well, the goal was here to move here to be with my daughter. That was the end goal. Why
Hmm.
why does this get in the way of who I am, and why am I ashamed of that? Uh, but I can figure that out really quick, right? It's first recognizing what's going on in my head. If I'm feeling ashamed of quitting my career and doing what I am now,
Hmm.
is because something's gotten in my head and made me feel lesser of a man that I should be. I put
Mm-hmm.
something on a pedestal, whatever that may be, money, you know,
Hmm.
whatever that is, right? It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm just not good enough. Then I have
Mm.
to go, why the fuck am I not good enough? I moved here end goal to be with my daughter. And that's what I'm doing. And I can bring myself back. And
Yeah.
some days it's not easy. It's something I work on all the time. But I know where men can just get into that hole. And if we start stacking or digging that hole deeper, it starts stacking up and we can't dig our way out.
Yep.
And it comes to the point if
Hmm.
for some men is, well, there's an easy fix for this. I'll just leave this earth. Um,
Yeah.
and it's very sad when they're so isolated, they're so ashamed of who they really are. And, us three right here could just grab them and sit down with them for an hour and probably talk them out of that. Just
Absolutely.
give them some love, give them some hope.
Normalize it. Normalize it. You're not alone.
Yeah.
Robbie, I hear you, man. Listen, I left my job to do this, and that was hard go. Hard go. Two nickels in your pocket, and no, I got to go do this. And Robbie, the other thing is you choosing your daughter for the long game. Shame can't exist with that because that's a relationship.
Hmm.
That's a relationship. And men, we measure ourselves a lot of times when we're not looking inside on possessions, wealth, homes, whatever it may be. And that's such a vacuous measurement stick versus, being able to connect with people in yourself and your ethics and your values, the good stuff.
The intrinsic things.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't buy. You have to choose.
And
You
that's
know.
what makes it so hard.
Yeah. And Rob, I can tell you this much: your daughter, 20 years from now, will be talking about how grateful she was that you came out, and that's gold. And that relationship goes on for eternity; it doesn't stop. You know, and it shapes us.
The hard part too is the instant gratification, right? You're saying 20 years from now, and like, fuck, I want this right now, right? I made a huge lifestyle change. I want something right now.
Let me ask
Playing
you, how
the,
old is she?
she's
Okay,
14.
I had a feeling.
Yeah.
There's
Hey,
nothing coming right now. Yeah,
no, no, right? There's just
with the
battles, right? It's
teenagers.
just butting the
Oh
heads all
my
the
God.
time. uh,
Yeah, but something
um,
though, it's still connection.
oh yeah, yeah.
Still
Uh,
connecting.
Way more, connection now than previously. I'm there for
Yeah,
100% all the time. And you were talking about being present.
yeah.
I am, I'll also just say 95% present most of the time I'm with her. There's some days.
Yeah, listen, I go the 80-20 rule. 80% is great.
Oh, I like
20%,
that.
80-20 rule.
Robbie, you
80%,
just found some more free time.
Yeah, I did.
80% gets only 20% of our attention. But that 20%, we give 80% of our attention as judgment. No, it's 80-20. It works.
I,
You can't be 100%, but you can be 80%.
I have this
And that's good
question that
enough.
just, I have this question that just won't leave my head.
Oh, go ahead.
The manipulation and shame.
No. That manipulation is where we, like, you have your Steve or myself, brothers, when you expose what the belief is, once you get out and expose it to the light in real time, the magnitude of it, the magnetic power of it is dissolved. It's like pouring salt on a magnet. It doesn't work. It's when we keep it inside, literally, and act on it day after day, it becomes like it's part of our veins. Once we start talking it out, like, wait a minute, that's irrational. Like someone's saying because you're not making money, you're not doing the right thing, Robbie. I say you're doing the right thing because you're making money in a way in which you can't measure. You have a 14-year-old daughter, you're you're her backbone, you're her backstop. And she's not gonna tell you that, but we will. The Brotherhood will, you know.
Yeah.
And I tell guys, a lot of guys don't see their kids very often. I go, that's not the issue. The issue is you're still connected. You're still connected. A lot of guys live with their dads. They don't even know their dad. Guys don't live with their dads. They have a good relationship with them. That's what matters, right?
I think I think Steve and I can talk about that forever, but yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when we get behind you, I'll get in line with you on that one. You
Perfect.
know, yeah. I've been married and divorced, and it was grueling. And I'm glad to be here talking to you about it. That we're all in recovery. They took that out of the book. It doesn't matter where you are. Recovery is reconnecting in this life to our best self. Whether we're learning how to overcome shame, anxiety, having gratitude, liking ourselves. A lot of times guys have a hard time with loving yourself. How about liking yourself? That's a big one.
Simplify it.
Yep.
I
That,
I, I
that
mean
gets traction.
in my the way any of this has worked for me
Yeah.
was whenever I had a conversation or someone gave me a concept that I didn't understand,
Hmm.
was I tried to personalize it in some way. So if I'm trying to find or figure out what an emotion is or feels like, if I can pull up a past memory where I've felt shame, then like that feeling doesn't go away, nor does it disappear with the memory. It still exists there. And if I can pull that back up, which is not a fun experience, but then I really give it the chance, and I give
Hmm.
myself the chance to be able to relate concept with feeling. And so I've personalized a lot of concepts and like an
Hmm.
emotion. If you were to give me awe as an emotion, I can explain to you a situation where I climbed to a certain point in a mountain and I saw something that made my jaw drop and I had an extremely emotional experience. And
Hmm.
I felt awe in that moment. I know what that feels like because I can bring back up a
Yeah.
scenario and something that's personalized. Uh, that is something that has helped me, and I know we're talking about shame, but if
It's
I
all
can
related. It's all
if
related.
I can
Yeah.
personalize it, then for me it has a shot. It has a shot of being let go of. It
Yeah.
has a chance
Steve,
to yeah.
absolutely. We have to update your emotional resume. The one we wrote at 5 isn't relevant, and the one we wrote at 20 is not relevant. The one you wrote right in your 30s or 40s, not only do you have a shot, you have a choice.
Hmm.
Mm,
It's not a shot, you have a choice.
yeah.
And the more we think about choice, the more empowered you are. Because choice is one of our gifts in this lifetime. And mental health is making choices. Okay, like we talk about our feelings, stuff happens, our emotions, our psychology is our belief system. Our mental health is our emotional skin.
Yep.
Okay. But our psychology is how we interpret these experiences. That can be updated. We know it with computers, we know it's software. We're no different. And with the Brotherhood, we have to Steve version
Hmm.
3.0,
Hmm.
Robbie 3.0, myself. Because I tell guys, we can choose to let go of the past.
Yeah, is this something you want to continue to believe?
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, we can put it on the shelf back here.
Hmm.
That's not the issue, but it doesn't control your present day.
Right.
I've been
Mm-hmm.
in depositions and expert witness. How does this sexual trauma, why is it relevant? Because it still impacts the person today.
Yeah.
Now, they need to unplug from it. Once you unplug from it, doesn't mean it evaporated, but it doesn't control you. And see, when you pull it up, you say, I choose for this not to control me.
Yep. I choose
Well,
to change the current
Narrative.
narrative.
change
Yep.
the current narrative that I'm believing because I am tired of
Yeah.
it determining what my future looks like because that's what happens.
Oh, absolutely. It drives it. And the more you realize we have choices, we're sitting in the driver's seat more. Not our little boy or our teenager,
Yeah.
but
Hmm.
the adults, men that I'm talking to you right now. Gentlemen, if more men sit in the driver's seat, there's a lot of things that
I
evaporate.
I think a lot of guys think they're sitting in the driver's seat. They're
Yeah.
not
I
gonna like
agree.
me. They're not gonna like me saying this, but I think a lot of guys think they're in the driver's seat. I mean, I could have when in my 30s, I would have told you I was in the goddamn driver's seat, right? And at the time, it was I would have argued with you tooth and nail because I wasn't even in a place where I was willing to see it. But if I was to turn around and holistically look at what my life looked like and how I was operating within it and actually told myself the truth, which I would not have listened to at the time. But still,
Fair enough.
then the recipe for change would have existed. But I still think, like, you,
I'm gonna answer your question.
yeah, go for it.
You guys, if all we take away from today, other than one, that's shame. Okay, we got that covered. Number two, the purpose of therapy isn't to tell you what to do. It's to get you to
Thank you.
know what you know, but you don't want to know, because once you know it, you got to take responsibility.
Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
You cannot
Yeah.
unsee it.
Thank you
And
for
when I get
saying that.
Yeah, therapy, guys. You're in there. No, I go. Fuck no. Sorry, we're not doing that. Okay, go somewhere else. We're here. You know what you know. Do you really want to know it? Because if you know it, you're different.
Mm-hmm.
That, gentlemen, is modern masculinity. That's a game changer. And at the top of the Grand Canyon to the bottom is an 8-mile descent. And we did it. And our guide said, you cannot do it in one day because you'll die. And in the summer, they have one camper every day dies for 3 months. You never hear about it. At least 90 to 100 people died from heat exhaustion. I remember thinking like, oh, that's a metaphor. I'm at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. I need to take this slow, but I need to walk out of it. And I have to take responsibility why I'm at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. And Steve, to your point, a lot of guys think they're driving. Let's take an inventory of what's going on in your life. And you realize you may be in the driver's seat, engine's not on, your eyes are closed, but you're in the driver's seat, but you're not driving. Because you know what you know, and you don't want to know it. And when you know it, guys, that's the change.
It's still there.
Yeah. I've had some times where I like to say I open one door and a bunch of other doors open because I can't see it the same way anymore. I got to step through that door and move on. And then I go through that next door and it's like, shit, now there's this one that I can't be this way anymore. I can't see it this way anymore. And it's and I loved what you said about the therapy because us as men, we know what the issue is most of the time, right? There's some underlying stuff that...
Yes, 90%. Let's say 90%. I think it's higher, but Robbie, let's say 90%. We know what it is. Or we're close to it.
And whatever that is, there's probably, a lot of shame, but like, put your foot down and fucking deal with it. Move on. And you won't be able to look back. And Steve and I have talked about this before because there's a lot of times where I cannot look back. And, Steve likes to call it the wall. Like we get, don't get too close back up to that wall. Because if you get past that wall, we're going to be right where we were maybe before. But now we have an awareness and we start backing up and we're like, oh shit, we're going that way. What's going on? A lot of people don't want to sit in it, and that's when you take control of that driver's seat and go, what's going on?
Absolutely. And that's where the brotherhood comes in, taking accountability, holding ourselves accountable.
The brotherhood connection in general. I'm going to go right back to finding a freaking safe place to talk. I could have told you that in 10 years ago, I don't know that I knew of where I had a safe place to talk. It probably existed. I was giving it to the wrong people.
Okay, that's a big deal.
That's a choice that I made. That's a choice that I will be responsible for, and that I am responsible for. But and I say this at the end of every podcast, is finding a safe place to speak. And I harp on this all of the time because in my own experience, if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be where I am today. Plain and simple. Whether it's the brotherhood, whether it's a woman that I could trust with my vulnerability, regardless. Right?
Hands down.
It was a way in which I could hear the shitty words, the words that burn when they come out of my mouth, because that's how you know it's shame. That's how you know it's shame. That shit stings. It burns. It's worse than heartburn.
It's
You
paralyzing.
you stutter. The words are silent. They're
Yes.
there. They're at the tip of your tongue. And you don't want to say it because it. What if? What if I say this to her and then the love gets taken away from me? What if I say this to him and he's no longer my friend? What if I say this to a professor or my therapist and I had
Mm-hmm.
this narrative in my mind where people would leave.
And at some
So-
point in your life, they did, Steve.
Right? No,
When
I
they-
understand,
yeah.
and I understand
Yeah.
that. Right? Everything was, and everything is temporary, and I understand that too. But I would finish the thing before it got finished. And
Can I say something to you?
yeah,
I got this question asked last night, guys. You're both going to scream because I did. Woman says to me, men are afraid of commitment. I go, no, wrong. Wrong.
Ooh,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. I go,
like
you love commitment.
over fucking commitment.
Yeah.
What you just said, Steve, is freaking a fastball down the middle at 105. We're not afraid of committing. We're afraid of being abandoned. So we leave first.
Yep.
It's much easier to be left than it's much easier to be leaving than be left.
We're digging
And the
our own
major-
grave.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not that we're scared of commitment. No, I mean, very few guys are commitment phobic. But we are edgy about is growing up. Like if we don't want to be abandoned, so we leave first, and that level of vulnerability is what pulls us back. It's not the problem about being connected. It's probably being disconnected. Is why a lot of guys hem and haw. To your point, Steve. To your point, 100%. And women hear this and they look at me like, "What?" I go, "It's the truth. He's a good guy." You know, they break up 3 times. 4th time they get married. He had to realize that she wasn't going to leave him. Or, you know, it takes that.
Oh yeah, I'd like overcommitting to things is a
Oh,
problem.
Yeah. That's why we're not going to get into codependence. Now, that is that's a shame factor issue. Codependence is shame in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Because I need to make sure I do everything to make you happy
Happy. Yep.
so you'll like me.
Me. Yep.
Yep.
So I can be happy.
Yep. So I could be happy.
But I'm not really
And
happy.
I'm freaking miserable. And,
Yeah.
and I resent you. I'm sorry, guys. And what
all right.
happens, I tell guys all the time is, relationships are tennis games. You can only own 100 of your 50. You can't own her side of the court.
Mm-hmm.
When you hit that ball over the net, you have no more control. And you can't hit it for her. Or you can't hit it for your buddies. Our responsibility is to stay on our side of the court. And change, oh, no. You're responsible for the whole tennis court. No, you're not. Not even close. If that's a good relationship, is understand there's 2 sides to the court.
There's always the other side, and we talk about this in the recovery world, and I mean, it's the level of self-aware. What part of this situation do I need to own? Where does my responsibility lie? And even when something happens that I have no control over, it could be horrible.
Yeah.
I still have to take responsibility for the fact that I was there, because I made decisions leading up to that, even though they may have been the right ones in the moment, that have led up to that. And as much as it sucks to say, I put myself here, even using my best judgment,
Yeah.
I still need at the time I still need to say
Hmm.
this is where it's the difference between shame and guilt. And I had these two mixed up. I think
Yeah.
this is a good spot for this one. I had these two mixed up. I had them basically the same. So when I felt guilty for something, it felt like shame to
Same.
me. I
Yep.
didn't. Guilt was I am bad because I didn't know that you could separate the two.
Correct.
And so there, I feel like those two are easily confused.
Well, undoubtedly, and they're equally different.
They are. They're
Yeah.
very much different. And something I feel guilty for, I can action my way out of that in a
Mhm.
very different way
Yeah.
than
Very
something that
different.
that I feel ashamed of.
Yeah.
Correct. You go. I know we got to stop here in a minute, guys, but the more we're connected to let people see us,
Hmm.
safe group, safe. Doesn't matter. It's one or two or five. That vulnerability is your pathway to where we want to evolve. Modern masculinity is vulnerability
In a nutshell.
in a nutshell. You know,
Yep.
you can talk the whole gamut, whole color wheel of emotions and thoughts. That's what's so powerful.
Robbie,
You
got
know,
any other thoughts?
yeah.
Uh, it-
Probably have a lot of thoughts.
yeah, I do. Yeah, it's just like this has all got me going. I love this stuff. Every time I record podcasts, I leave with more questions for myself
Hmm.
than when I began with it, and that to me is growth. Once I stop questioning who I am or
Hmm.
how can I be better, all that I know that's when my growth stops. And I've lived many years in that weird place where there was no growth, and I'm just fascinated with the topics we talk about. But I really think the shame
Hmm.
is so huge, and
Yeah. It's, yeah.
It's the canary in the coal mine.
yeah,
That's a really good analogy, Steve and Robbie. You guys, I've never, I tell guys when they come in, if all we talk about is shame, you'll never waste your time.
Ain't
I
that
don't
the
like,
truth?
I don't like the word never, but on this one, I'm going to use it. I've never seen it not work. You know, it gets us where we need to go.
Hmm.
I'm not saying depression, anxiety are not important. They are. But when a guy starts talking about his shame, transformation hits the ground running.
I think you just kind of firing off a little bit here. You know, you talked about depression and anxiety, and I felt anxiety about my shame, and I
shame,
felt depression
depression.
about the damned shame. Like it was a side effect of it.
Hmm.
Absolutely. It's its own diagnostic tree, as is anxiety and depression. But in psychology, we still haven't diagnosed it. I'm saying this is a diagnostic issue
Right.
Hmm.
as much as schizophrenia is, and I mean that genuinely. You know, you stay in your head long enough, you make yourself crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
Sometimes it's a fun spot, man.
yeah,
Sometimes it's a circus in there.
yeah.
it's a lot of fun. But to your point, guys, transformation starts. You want to, guys, go. I want to get through this. I go. Let's talk about your shame. Whoa, 50%. I never see him again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I believe that.
Oh my!
Yeah.
I see the silhouette going through the door, and the
The
other guys that
shadow.
show. Yep, other guys that show up. Go, okay, let's do this because the suffering. Here's the pleasure. The suffering exceeds this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And gentlemen, that's where shame hides.
I I uh I literally wrote a Facebook post this morning about about the change. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's there's I always relate to this one because there's three different ways, four different ways, and this is from a John Maxwell. You hurt enough that you have to. So this is where it hurts you more. It's hurting you more to not do it than it is to do it.
Hmm.
You see enough that you're inspired to change. So you see someone doing, you see enough that you're like, I can do this too. You learn enough that you want to, or you receive enough that you're able to. And this is, I saw this once a really long time ago, and then what I did in my Facebook post is I personalize stuff. I take my own life experience and then I put it into there so I have something that I can relate it to. I don't even care if it's wrong or if it doesn't quite match, because then I give myself a little bit of a chance to get a little bit closer to what is really authentic to me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I peel back another layer of the onion, the
Yep.
damn proverbial onion. I'll chew on the skin if I have to, but it's a place
Yeah.
regardless.
What John said, I 300% agree. What I have found is psychologists, pain in this life, we have dualities. Comfort, we only know comfort from we know pain.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And many times people avoid pain in a way that's not productive.
Many
The
times,
key,
lots of times.
a lot of the time,
Yeah.
that's the key. People go, when people are ready to make a change, you know it. There's no sales
Oh,
job. They're ready.
that's where I say, like, if the pain of it is greater than,
The
if the
avoidance.
pain is
Yeah.
greater than the avoidance, then
Hmm.
that change is it's abrupt.
Yep.
It is immediate. It is it is like a dynamite going off
Hmm.
because you're finally done with it. That's how it is. That's how it is for me. Why do I have to continue to suffer? I mean, I've
Or
discussed this with myself at almost nauseum. Why do I need to create so much pain to do the thing I know that's good for me?
Yeah.
Like, I know I can feel it. There's the thing right there, and I'm not going to do it until it hurts enough. And I've argued with myself over and over again about why do I need to do that? Why does the pain need to be my motivator?
Yep.
And I've eventually figured it out that it doesn't have to be. But I'll tell you, I've slapped myself around with a whole dirty, rotten trout for a really long time trying to figure it out.
it's part of the school of life, the contrast effect, And Steve, what you said is it's choosing not to do it.
It's choosing. It is. It is.
Can I
It
tell you,
is a choice.
let me tell you, when guys start narrowing it down to choice, not why,
I get to. That's what I tell myself. I
yeah,
get
Mm-hmm.
to.
because the tyranny of whys, get off that treadmill. Go to the choice treadmill. That gets a lot cleaner, a lot clearer. Yeah. I know you
I.
guys, I appreciate you guys having me on this today. I know we've gone
We're
quite a while
good.
here.
We're
We're
good.
good.
This is. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get to wrapping this up. Robbie, do you have any? Is the hamster still on the wheel before we close this out?
The hamster's going to stay on the wheel, but it's all good.
Okay. I just wanted to know if he wanted to hop off and say a few words.
No, I'm good.
All right. One of the things I had a conversation with my roommate the other night, and
Hmm.
we all get stuck in our own version of stuck talk,
Hmm.
and it's the same circle over and over again with the same result, the definition of insanity, and there's shame involved in stuck talk.
Oh,
You
yeah.
stay there for a reason.
Yep.
You believe that to be true until you decide not to believe it to be true, and it's so much easier said than done. What can today's Steve do so
Hmm.
tomorrow's Steve, I'm butchering this right now. Tomorrow's Steve will thank
Today's.
today's Steve. If I can do something today that tomorrow me will thank me for, I'm moving myself in the right direction.
It's a great question. And the short and long answer, I tell guys to write down what they're choosing.
Mm-hmm.
It's self feeding. Write on the column what would be a different choice. And when you start thinking about different choices, you start moving toward them
Mm-hmm.
unconsciously. There's a magnet. There's like a GPS in you. You'll start moving toward them. But when you expose what you're not happy with, talk about what would make you happy, what responsibly. And that choice, Steve and Robbie, that's your superpower.
Choice is your superpower.
Yeah.
Even though
Absolutely. You may not
even
feel
though
it.
there's times where it feels absolutely like you don't have a
Yeah.
choice.
It's a great question. Today, Steve and Robbie, tomorrow, I can see the line of choices I've been making.
Yep.
That's a
Is
good,
it,
good
it
that's a good trail.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's and it's that just that one just occurred to me the other day. Anyways, I want to say thank you, Steve, for spending the time and sending us your books signed and everything.
Nice.
It's a gift to have
Thanks, man.
your thoughts here written on this paper. I just got a message on my phone or on my computer, and
Yeah.
it stopped my like it skipped my CD.
Hmm.
So thank you, Steve. I really do appreciate you sending the books and giving
Thanks,
us an
guys.
opportunity to read them. I'm gonna finish this off the same way I always finish this off, and talking to the guys that are out there that
Hmm.
are suffering in silence. You feel that in your heart. You feel that you're lost. You feel that you're not understood. You feel unheard. You feel like you're saying the things and they're landing on brick
Hmm.
walls. There are men out there that are willing to listen, willing to give you space, and willing to not make you feel ashamed of what is going on in your life, whether it's financial, whether it's relational, whether it's about your kids, whether it's about the way you look, and whether it's about the status that you have in this world.
Yep.
We care about you as a human. You're welcome to reach out to all three of us. So I want to
Absolutely.
say thank you all for listening. Thank you, Grand Junction, for your support. Again, I look forward to seeing you guys in town and speaking with you all a lot more. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.